Good evening, everybody. Welcome. We've met in executive session, so we have already done the flag salute, so I'm going to read the statement of public notice. This is a regular meeting of the Board of Education of Berners Township. Notice of the time and place of the meeting was provided, and copies of the resolution was forwarded to the official newspapers as designated by the Board of Education and to the Township Clerk, and a copy of the notice was posted on the bulletin board of the Board of Education offices. For those members of the public who cannot attend our meeting in person, a live stream link to the meeting is posted on the district website. We very much welcome input from the public. There are 2 times during regular meetings that the public is invited to speak. One time is early in the meeting before the board votes, when you may speak about any item that's listed on tonight's agenda. Towards the end of the meeting, there's another public forum to address any matter of public concern related to the schools. When you approach the microphone, please state your name and address. Each statement made by participant shall be limited to 3 minutes duration. No participant may speak more than once during a given public comment session. The first public comment session will be limited to 30 minutes and the second will be unlimited. In order to run efficient meetings and to allow maximum opportunity for members of the public to speak, the board reserves the right to set a different time limit for individual comments and the overall time limit for the public comment portion of the agenda. All statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No participant may address or question board members individually, and no public comments will be accepted after 7 p.m. Please understand that public comment portions of our agendas are not structured as question and answer sessions, but are offered as opportunities to share your thoughts with the board. The board administration will respond to public comments to the extent possible. Any board responses to public comments will generally be addressed during board forum or committee reports. However, all comments are considered and will be investigated and addressed as appropriate. Please be courteous and mindful of the rights of others when speaking. Comments may not be abusive, obscene, threatening, or irrelevant. Please understand that students and employees have specific legal and privacy protections. The board is not permitted to respond in public to comments about students and employees. Please also understand that the board will not be responsible for the content of comments made by members of the public. Members of the public are cautioned that they are speaking at their own risk, and any personally directed statements they make may subject them to legal liability to the affected individuals. If it's necessary for the board to go into executive session at the end of the meeting, we'll provide an estimated length of time for the session and whether any action is anticipated to be taken upon returning to public session. Okay. All right. And with that, we are up to our student representative. Do you have a report for us?
Hello, everyone. My mic is working, which is great. So as of now, we have officially stepped into the school year. My grade, the class of 2026, are now preparing for college applications. We have received immense support from our counselors and our English teachers in college essay conferences. The vast and flexible course opportunities offered at Ridge High School have been working great for the incoming freshman class. During our last September 8th meeting, I covered more points of consideration regarding community service and learning initiatives. Today, I have more updates rather than input. So to update everyone, we have continued initiatives and activities within Ridge High School. So Ms. Fox and Mr. Terry were gracious enough to touch base with me about the role of community service, and I have interviewed teachers and students across their experiences with volunteering and community service. Additionally, we have just elected our freshman class representatives. I will be working with our school-wide advisors to set the dates for the full student government meeting to meet with the Board of Education. One meeting will be in the fall, and one meeting will be held in the spring to represent student concerns. We are looking forward to a great year with exciting college admissions results for the class of 2026. I will remain for the rest of the BOE meeting if any input from the students is needed. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much. As always, you are welcome to stay for the entirety, but we also know if you have work to do, we totally understand. With that, we are up to the superintendent's report, and there are 4 items. Is there anything you want to say about?
Sure. So the first item we've been waiting for a while to get, it is our CUSAC scores from last year. We had some preliminary information about them, but we finally got our official letter. So we're happy to report those positive results there under item number 1. Item number 2 is a research project by a doctoral student that will not involve any of our students. However, we are going to ask staff if they would be willing to participate in a survey at their discretion, but we still need board approval to allow that to happen. We have an overnight trip for Ridge High School wrestling team to attend the Virginia Duels in January, and the HIB report for this meeting. That's it.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Mr. Markarian? Dave?
Sorry, the sound in here is a little off today. I don't know if anyone else has that issue yet. So this is for finance? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what you were saying.
You couldn't hear, I just said, does
Oh,
any,
that's
I
better.
was saying, does anybody have a question for Mr.?
Oh, no.
No, okay, so you wanted to do the motion, okay.
Yes.
Can I get a motion then? Dave and Keith. And a roll call.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Dr. McCune?
Yes.
Mr. Molinari?
Yes.
Mr. Amin?
Yes.
Ms. Mohan?
Yes.
Ms. Corrado?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Talbot?
Yes.
And Mr. Omalanik?
Yes.
We are up to public comment. If you have something you'd like to share, please come down to the microphone, sign in at the clipboard, and then state your name and address. Thank you.
Hello, Frank Klaus, 18 Owens Court. Interested in the research project that was just mentioned. Great that it's impacting teachers and not students, but very curious as to what this individual is researching and what the purpose of the project is. Thank you.
Evening, everyone. My name's Richard Huckins, and I live at 67 Woodstone Road. That property is the closest and will have the biggest impact from the drainage plan and lighting plan for the soccer field. And I have grave concerns about that. And you should know that I served 4 years on the planning board here in town. I have an environmental engineering background, and I'm on the Board of Trustees for the Kennedy Martinstell Farmstead. So, you know, I just finished the whole drainage plan with Tom Timko for that site. So I am highly familiar with these things, and what I saw is that the way the culvert is going is just going to dump the water directly onto my property at a rate that's probably 3 times what the flow is now. I have been up there when we've had one of the hurricanes, and there was a huge flow then. And at that point, it was going through my yard. There's no accommodation for controlling of that flow of water, and it will completely inundate the back of my house. Additionally, the lights, a light pole that is 85 feet high is going to dwarf my tree canopy, which is about 30 to 35 feet high. So it will extend way higher than that. They say they'll be 70 feet in from the property line. My house is 100 feet back from there, so it's 170 feet. And even on those pictures that were provided to show that there's no lighting, there was, because they were looking up at it on one of the pictures, I will definitely have a lot of light pollution on my property. And so I have some grave concerns about just the fundamental design. I know that all 6 bids were rejected, and I would ask that I be given the chance to review the bid package before it goes out, the revised bid package. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Steve Glickman, and my address is 60 Battalion. I've lived across the street from the Mount Prospect School for 25 years now. And in that 25 years, I've seen in the daytime, when everybody's wearing sunglasses, the parking lot lights on and the lights from the building on. And I've called the Board of Ed numerous times I must have the worst timing in the world because every time I called over the 25 years, the superintendent has been in a meeting. So I'm concerned, and I can't help but think, if that much money is being wasted outside of the building, how much money is being wasted inside?
Thank you.
One other thing. I was also told to talk to building services and so forth. I called them, and just like the superintendent's office, never got a call back in 25 years.
Good evening. My name is Scott Gibbard. I live at 64 Woodstone Road in Homestead Village, directly opposite the soccer field where the artificial turf, drainage, and lighting are proposed. I've lived in Basking Ridge for over 65 years, and my wife and I have lived on Woodstone for 38. My two daughters grew up on Woodstone and graduated from Ridge High School. I have 4 terrific grandchildren who live, go to school, and play here in Bernards Township. I'm in favor of the artificial turf and the drainage improvements, which will give our kids much more time in the field to play whatever sport they're in. But I oppose the 4 85-foot-high poles with 28 light fixtures for 2 reasons. My first reason is based on the Township Master Plan and land use ordinances. I've served on the Bernards Township Planning Board and Board of Adjustment for a combined 13 years, so I know about good planning and land use. We have no streetlights on Homestead Village, and Homestead Village is the oldest residential neighborhood in this township. We have no streetlights and never had streetlights. We don't want street lights. We enjoy the darkness of the spring, summer, fall, and winter evening hours with no light pollution. That is how it's always been, and that's how it should stay. If the field lights are installed, my Homestead Village neighbors and I will have a direct line of sight to the 85-foot-high lights and sky glow. That will have a significant negative impact on our property values and our lives. You just don't install 28 85-foot-high field lights next to a residential neighborhood. You don't do that. That is completely contrary to our Township Master Plan and zoning ordinances, particularly Section 21-41, which addresses streetlights. My second reason is cost. The cost for these lights right now has been bid at $356,000. And I understand we're going out for a rebid, but I believe that $356,000 is far lower than the actual cost will be. That said, the $356,000 would best be applied toward the $2.51 million budget deficit cut that you all painfully approved this year by eliminating 28 teaching and administrative positions and increasing class sizes. You no doubt recall the community protest against that at your May 5th budget hearing. And that $356,000 does not include the great expense to light these lights, which increased 20% on June 1st due to the JCP&L rate increase. On the other hand, I'm in favor of the turf and drainage improvements that will give our kids the daytime field availability and playing time they currently don't have when the grass soccer field is just too wet to play on.
Sir, your time is up.
I have one more sentence.
Okay.
If in the future there is a demonstrated need, which there is not, for more nighttime field play that cannot be provided at our other lit athletic fields, this board could consider putting the lights in then, because the electrical conduit for the lights will already be installed. But for now, please do the neighborly and fiscally prudent thing. Proceed with the project without the lights. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Ray Leckletter. I live at 79 Peachtree Road.
My wife and Nancy and I have been there for over 30 years. Nancy's a teacher in district, so you may know her. She's been a teacher for over 20 here. We raised 3 kids in the schools. It's been a great place for us to live. They all benefited from the athletic facilities. We're in favor of improving the athletic facilities, but we're in a unique situation. We live at Peachtree Road cul-de-sac. We're at ground zero. We have Lee Field in our front yard, and we have the soccer field in our backyard. The end line, the center field line, is about 75 feet from our backyard. And I went through the plans in detail. I learned about this program about 2 weeks ago, and have had little sleep since, and I've done as much homework to understand the impact and the preparations have been done to this project. I've reached out to all of you asking if you'd come and walk the field with me and welcome me into my home to observe the conditions. The biggest single problem we have is noise. It's been a 10-year, 12-year problem. The PA system at Lee Field is often unmanaged and is a huge problem. Our problem is that the topography of this field carries all the noise into our home. The natural noise from the playing field is at my kitchen table constantly when the field's in use. We have never complained about that. We've complained extensively about amplified music on the baseball field and now the softball field. That has never been addressed properly, and to this day I've been told now that I have to seek recourse with this board to get any kind of recognition of the problem and solution, to put a policy in place. To think about expanding this without considering us is grossly wrong, and I'd hope to convince you of that. The noise levels need to be looked at. There's no mitigation of any noise in the plan right now. The contractors are directed to remove trees with no discretion as needed. No replenishment, no replacement. It's a double standard that doesn't exist anywhere else in this community, and it shouldn't be existing. The noise is going to be exacerbated by the field use. If this goes till 10 p.m. every night that the field can be in use, my home will be unlivable for us. We're going to have to make a decision whether we get forced out. It's just an unfair situation, and the homework has not been done. The lighting is just abysmal. I can't understand how a 85-foot pole could be put 60 feet from my property line. If it fell, it would be in my backyard. It's unconscionable. There is no example that's been put out that shows any lighting system this close to a residential neighborhood, and the homework has not been done. I was directed to go to Alcott Field to take a look at what Bernardsville did, and I see that they did a nice job. It's a big improvement from Lee Field, and it was a responsible implementation. They did a thorough analysis, they engaged the community, and it was thoughtfully done. They had fiscal prudence, they looked at lighting and sound and put in necessary abatements. This is what should happen here. It's just unfair to do anything else. We live with the mistakes that were made 20 years ago. The board is all gone, and we live with the mistakes that were made in Lee Field that I could go on about. But this one, please, consider this, and don't let this be the legacy of this board. Please slow this down, remove the lights from the program, and think about the sound and other impact on the neighbors before you proceed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
How's everybody tonight? Haven't seen you in a long time. Mr. Markarian, good to see you again. Jim Bologna, 59 Woodstone Road. So I'm looking around here, and I see my neighbors back here. You all don't live anywhere near us. So you all have no idea what's going on, except for you, Mrs. White. So you all don't know what's going on. It's unbearable sometimes. Now, many of you know my wife. She likes to get a nap on Sunday mornings. She told me one day, she says, I can't sleep. Could you go up there and tell them to turn the noise down? And I was on my way up the hill, and they stopped, because maybe Ray says something. So I asked my friend John, I said, you know, I think this light field thing is a snowball going downhill. What we need is a code of conduct. He says, from 2013, we have a code of conduct, but nobody enforces it. Nobody. All you people who live every place else go home at night to your families, quietness, unless you live near 287, I'm sorry if you do. It's not a fair thing to do to the community. I will tell you, that I am outraged on Monday morning when I walk up to the field and look at the mess that's created by our students, by the visiting students. We have to pay to pick that up. Why not put in place a code of conduct with some teeth, a $1,000 bond, or whatever you got to do? Maybe you can have a rotation on the superintendent and the 2 assistant superintendents to show up and make sure that things are put around the way they should. So I think you all should really take a breath here on these lights, on the field, on the extra burden you're placing on the Woodstone community or the Homestead community to do your jobs. You, the guys, are getting paid, except for the board. Thank you again for your service. But something has to be done so that we don't have to pick up the mess that you made. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment?
Susan McGowan, 62 Peachtree Road. My family has lived in the Homestead Village neighborhood since before Lee Field and had lights and turf, and have lived through the detrimental effects after it was implemented. We are familiar with the varsity field's long history of water drainage problems. We support an engineering plan to fix those drainage issues, with water from all 3 fields directed into a holding basin and responsibly released towards South Maple Avenue. The drainage remediation alone will give extended usage to these fields for our sports programs. But beyond drainage, the varsity complex plan raises serious concerns. First is proximity of the proposed field lights to the neighborhood. The soccer field sits within 25 yards of the nearest Homestead Village property. Installing 4 85-foot poles there would put a second lit turf field right at the edge of our neighborhood. Second is the expanded hours of use. The plan expands use from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week, creating long days of lights, noise, and activity in what should be a quiet residential space. Third is the amplified noise. With 3 fields using PA systems and portable speakers sure to be brought to the soccer field until a permanent one is donated, our neighborhood will be subjected to constant amplified noise. Fourth is the removal of trees and vegetation that serve as a buffer to our neighbors. Current plans to remove trees with no plan for buffer restoration. And finally, there are better alternatives to use these funds. The lighting installation is an expensive luxury, especially when staff and programs are being cut. Funds could be used to update the Lee Field existing lighting with modern LED fixtures, reduce the glare, and save on electricity in your operating budget. Or address building and classroom needs that directly benefit the students. Respectfully, I urge the board to take the following actions. Remove the lights entirely from the varsity soccer field project. Ensure the plan addresses drainage issues of the complex and does not direct water toward private property. Include tree and buffer restoration for adjoining neighborhoods, the adjoining neighborhood. Redirect the lighting budget towards school buildings, classrooms, and upgraded LED fixtures at Lee Field. And then adopt enforceable policies on field usage and amplified sound, and a process that includes a contact who is available on call until 10 o'clock at night to immediately address field issues. The Berners Township Master Plan emphasizes protecting neighborhood character, preventing intrusive development, and safeguarding quality of life. Homestead Village deserves the same protection as every other neighborhood, the neighborhoods you live in this town. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Good evening. Mark Huntsman, 71 Woodstone. So with all the other neighbors here, I really strongly object and have deep concern regarding these plans with the turf and lighting for the school soccer field here. My family's home, specifically the bedroom and backyard, face north adjacent to the soccer field, so fairly close here. And would be directly impacted by the proposed 85-foot lighting structures. Obviously, this brings light pollution, but that also attracts the noise pollution that you've been hearing from my neighbors here with a time limit from 8 to 10 p.m. Let's be honest here, that time limit is not held. There's so many times where I would look over to the football field and it'd be 10:17. I'm like, don't they have a restriction on this? So that 10 p.m. time limit is just a guidance, but it is far outlasted in terms of the usage of this field. I'm also concerned about the drainage. I'm closest to Richard's yard as well, so the back of my yard would be impacted by the drainage, which is all being directed towards the southwest portion of the soccer field, which is basically directly towards the back of my lawn here. So obviously with the lighting pollution, the noise pollution, the concentrated water flow coming from the entire campus to our private lawns is of grave concern. And yeah, I just wanted to state that this is a tight-knit community within Homestead Village, and there's been a lot of stress and anxiety over the last 2 weeks that could have been completely avoided. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Vicki Coffin, 63 Woodstone Road. I've been there for over 35 years, and this is the first time I've felt as if I had to address you. I feel that for transparency, it would be good that everyone has access, so publicly available on the website, to have time to study the lighting, the photometric plans, the fixtures, the drainage studies. When they say zero spillage, we don't know what that means. We need to see what the studies were. With regards to the 80-foot light poles behind our homes, they're going to, as you've heard, they're going to affect our quality of life, peace, and the quality of our property. The proposed lights are basically justified for outside clubs. When we asked about its use for the high school, they said no, basically they can use daytime hours and everything's fine. They don't need the lights. So the lights were for proposing to rent to outside clubs and not for school needs. Obviously, the 10 p.m. is too late during the week. You know, we do have to work. We have to get our sleep. We request to delay the approval for full lighting and draining plans until we have time to review all the data. We'd like an independent review of the photometric light data. And even for the baseball fields, we feel as if there needs to be an enforceable complaint process that's in place. So we support safe, playable fields for our students, but neighbors should not bear the cost of excessive lighting and noise for commercialization of public lands. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Okay, I will close public comment. Is there anything that you want to address?
Sure. So I think the first thing was related to the study, right? So the individual is looking at research related to evaluating in-district special education, educators' perceptions of the effectiveness and the impact on school culture and financial implications of emotional regulation impairment programs in public schools. As far as the project's concerned, the lighting project, I just wanted to thank the folks that came out tonight. It sounds like we have a lot of people that have done volunteer service for the community, so your service is appreciated. I know Susan and I worked with you on the board, and it sounds like a lot of folks that came out tonight have done some work for the town, so thank you for that. With respect to the different aspects that were raised relative to lighting pollution, noise pollution, the ideas about controls and policies for both of those issues, I would just like to mention that I did visit the site and speak to Mr. Lecklider in particular with Mr. Rollo, and so we took a lot of input back for our engineer as it related to all of the questions about locations for drainage, trees to replace things that might be taken down and add some things that could be light and or noise screens. We talked about evergreen trees for that purpose. I think that it's very straightforward and easy to post plans for everyone to see. We can put those on the district website and make an obvious link for anybody that wants to look at updated plans. As someone noted, the board has on its agenda tonight to reject all of the bids that were already received. So there'll be some time to do that and make those plans available for people. With respect to policy on sound and noise, there is some language in the board's policy about facility use that addresses times. Generally speaking, not starting the use of school facilities before 8 o'clock. The 10 o'clock rule is Fridays and Saturdays. The Sunday rule is supposed to be 7 p.m. And the rule for Monday through Thursday is supposed to be 9 p.m. So, I mean, it's not a problem at all for us to review, go over in policy committee. We could take a look at the rules that we have about the time and also about noise and the use of sound systems. So we can certainly work together on that. It's easy enough. If the board's in agreement, I can put that on the agenda for policy. I see a lot of heads nodding, so that's straightforward to do. Mike, you can join the party and give us some input on how things are going with the athletics. And I think it would make sense to add some details here. As I've said to some folks that have raised this issue, it does make it easier if we've all got something that's in writing under board policy as the go-to reference point. So I think we can do all of those things, and I'd be interested to hear any thoughts board members have about this project, whether it be now or later on in the agenda, so that Jim and I have your input relative to talking to the engineer, who unfortunately was not available to be here tonight, but we are going to ask him to make himself available to come to the next board meeting. Thank you.
Does anybody have any comments that they want to? Dave?
Yeah, so I'll start. I'm sure others will have comments too. So definitely agree on policy. We'll for sure look at that in policy to see if we can make changes. And on top of that, enforcing the policy. So I think that's an important part of it. And I know for sure we'll address that. As far as the bid, we are going to be rejecting it today. And we will make some changes to what Nick mentioned. We'll probably talk about trees and potentially moving the line slightly to help with the water. As far as lighting, just so you know, it is going to be an alternative in the bid, meaning that we're still in discussions on it. So we have not made a decision on that. It will be discussed up here for everyone. I'll start with my official position right now, but I'm sure everyone has their own. But I'm definitely looking at the cost of that and saying, can that be used for other things? It is a great thing to have lights. It would be very nice, but based on where the district is with all the things we have to do, like the track that we're going to talk about in a few minutes, I just think there's potentially better uses, and putting in the conduits for, we'll look at it in the future. If the need is there, then maybe we'll put it in the future, but for now, I would lean against that myself. Thanks.
Robin.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything that Dave just said. I think if we put the conduits in and we see what the field usage is with 2 turf fields, we may see that we don't need as many lights for our teams, even because there's 2 turf fields and the practices and games could be spread out more. So I'd like to have more information just about the usage, let alone the light issues themselves, before I would be willing to pay for the lights. So I think I agree with what Dave said.
Keith.
Yeah, so I like that we're going to get a couple different options when we go back out to bid, and I would like to see them, broken down a bit. And we talked about the footings and how they might be unseemly to have the footings and not actually have the lights. So I would like to see what that would look like in maybe a rendition, and I'm sure there's ways to blend those into the field and the landscaping in a way that's not ugly and obtrusive. I would say, as far as the philosophy of renting out the fields is if you look who actually rents the fields, it's for the most part not out-of-town kids. The biggest renters on Leaf Field is RYSI, the local youth sports. So our district fields, facilities, are generally being used by children in the district, which I think is a good thing, and it's also a revenue-generating thing for the town, for the board as well. But I think I would lean toward the footings, because in the future, if we do need lights, just think how much this district's changed. Think about, everything plays into each other, right? Think about all the new developments coming in. Where are we going to be in 5 or 10 years? We might actually need those lights in 5 or 10 years. But for now, maybe we don't. Mr. Mancino would be the expert on that, on our field usage, and I would defer to him. But I would like to see us prepared if we have to add those lights in the future, and not discount the possibility of renting it out to local sports teams. Because again, those are our kids too. Even if it's not a district sports team, if it's Ridge Youth Sports, those are kids in town. So I think that's a worthwhile use of the facilities. At the same time, giving due considerations to the neighbors. I mean, I'm fully in favor of protective landscaping. I'm fully in favor of stronger policies on noise control, especially who has access to the PA systems at varsity field and softball fields. In my viewpoint, that should only be coaches. Students should not have access to that. So I would like to see some stronger policies around that as well. And those are my thoughts.
Mike.
I was just going to say we have our next policy meeting on Thursday, and I think these are going to be a lot of things that we really talk about. I agree with Keith. I think in almost all situations, the coaches should be the one who have access to the speakers and so on. I think we really need to tune that up a little bit to make sure that, the proper policies are followed, and that, we don't have noise coming out at 10 p.m. on a weekday and waking up the neighborhood. I also agree. I think that's something we really have to look at is, maybe we wait with the lights, we have to see, we have to talk about the bids and everything, but maybe just prepare the footings. And, if we need to do this, 5, 10 years, whatever it is, at least we have the options of having that there.
Brett.
Yeah, again, I agree with everything that's been said already. I believe that Robin mentioned it, that we really do need some solid field usage data, and how often the fields would be used at night before you can determine if that expense is worth it, because it is a very big expense that I'm not sure a lot of us can get behind. At the end of the day, thank you to everyone for coming up and voicing your concerns. We hear what you're saying, and we definitely need to balance the needs of your concerns versus what our students need. And that's what we're here for, is to protect our students' needs as well. But we do need some more data to figure that out, I think.
Nimich?
So just to clarify, we're not voting today on the lights itself. We're rejecting all the bids. Do want to thank everyone for coming out here. I think if we were voting, just to comfort you guys, it sounds like there's enough people here agreeing that lights probably are not needed just based on field usage. I think again, we're not voting, but there is a sense that we do need a new turf field. There are issues with the current field. From my understanding, and I'm on the Operations and Facilities Committee, the drainage is actually going to be improved by the water basin and how we're collecting all the water. So I think people concerned about drainage should actually see an improvement. Lighting is something that I am not supporting, nor it seems like other people's. So when that vote comes up, I think you'll hear more discussion in that regard. And I think regarding the policy on times, I'm all for it. I do want to be careful that we aren't very draconian about it, so a game in the middle of the ninth inning or middle of the fourth quarter all of a sudden has to go dark. If the lights are being used regularly past 10 o'clock, I think there's an issue. If it's been up to 10:15 on occasion, I think we have to allow for that. And if it's every Friday going past 10:15, then maybe the game should start 15 minutes earlier. But I don't think an abrupt stop should happen during a game either.
Anyone else?
Just one thing, because I heard it twice tonight, and I heard it over the weekend too, and just clarification, because it's a good question. How do we do reductions in force with staff this past year when we're at the same time we're talking about spending, quite a bit of money on fields? And, just for the public's knowledge, because again, I had this question over the weekend, I heard it a couple times tonight, is two different buckets. So anything we're doing with the fields or the buildings or the HVAC, that's coming out of our capital reserves, and that's the money, that's where that money is allocated for. Whereas staff salaries, our electricity bills, our revolving expenses, that's coming out of our operational budget. So it's two different buckets of money. So that's why, although it seems counterintuitive, we can be spending money on our facilities, but at the same time, we unfortunately have to tighten our belt in some other areas.
Obviously, I have a bias. It's my neighborhood. So I know how everybody out there who came forward spoke. That being said, we do have a field that really can't be used because if we get too much rain, it's too wet. So we do need to do something so that we can get better use out of it. So I would like to see us go forward with turfing the field. I would also like us to take enough time to collect some data because I feel as if we have two, I think Robin alluded to this, if we have two fields, then we don't have to stack games over at Lee Field because you can have something running there and be using the lower field. So if we can get the field actually up and running and have a year's worth of data where we're seeing, well, how many times have we actually run into a problem that we would have even needed light? Because it may be a factor that we don't need it at all. That being said, I don't know enough in terms of building and how things are done, but if it's more cost effective to have the conduit put in so that you're not doing that after the fact, in case you do need it at some point, I think that is something that we should definitely get information on going forward. Everybody feel?
Yeah, I also want to add that I think at the end of all these decisions, it's the kids' safety that needs to definitely be prioritized. And so I agree that the turf is going to be important as well. I also agree that we do need more data. I also agree that I'm very mindful of every comment that was made today about the noise and the lighting pollution, and I understand the concerns there. So and on top of that, I'm also mindful of the financial issue as well, the budget, and making sure that we are allocating the funds to the right things. So I do agree with the turf. I'm also, leaning towards not having the lights. And I want to thank all of you for coming up front and voicing your opinions. I think that's really important in all of these issues. You know, having the community voice their opinions on all of these things and us being able to take all of that into consideration. So I want to thank you all.
Okay, thank you everybody for your feedback. Thank you everybody for coming and voicing your opinions. We are now up to approval of minutes. Can I get a motion, Keith and Dave, and then a roll call?
Ms. White?
Yes.
Dr. McCune?
Yes.
Mr. Molinari?
Yes.
Mr. Amin?
Yes.
Ms. Mohan?
Yes.
Ms. Corrado?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Talbot?
Yes.
And Mr. Omalanik?
Yes.
Okay, we're up to finance. There are 28 items. Dave, is there anything that you need to go over?
Yeah, there's 2 items I want to mention, and as far as a report, we had the meeting on Tuesday, so it'll be presented to the rest of the board probably tomorrow. As far as items, the 2 I wanted to mention were number 8, which is about the field that we just talked about. We are going to be rejecting the bids today. There was the lowest bids were non-compliant, and they were over our budget, so we're going to reject. We are going to make some changes to the bids and then go out to bid again. And then the second item is was added on number 27. It's related to the track. So we've been having quite a few issues with the track. Every time it rains, we get big bubbles in the track, and getting it ready for any meets has been very difficult. So it probably won't last much longer than, from what I understand, the spring. So we are going to go out to get some drawings on that, and that's what that bid is for. Thank you.
Okay, does anyone have any questions? Okay, can I get a motion? Janice and Brett, and a roll call.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Dr. McCune?
Yes.
Mr. Molinari?
Yes.
Mr. Amin?
Yes.
Ms. Mohan?
Yes.
Ms. Corrado?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Talbot?
Yes.
And Mr. Omalanik?
Yes.
Okay, that brings us to personnel, and there is a report.
The committee met on September 19th, but there are really no details about the personnel matters that I can report out on publicly.
Okay. There are 35 items. May I have a motion? Janice and Brett, and a roll call.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Dr. McCune?
Yes.
Mr. Molinari?
Yes.
Mr. Amin?
Yes.
Ms. Mohan?
Yes.
Ms. Corrado?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Talbot?
Yes.
And Mr. Omalanik?
Yes.
We're up to policy. There is a report.
Yeah, we have our meeting next Thursday, so this is just short point for our meeting for September 11th. We discussed the acceptable use of the network devices and resources, and basically added that it has to be signed off by students that devices are designed for schoolwork, not for breaking rules, etc. Applies to student-owned electronic devices if brought to school. Added to the policy, can't use devices that violate any other board policy or subject to disciplinary action. And we'll have a lot more to report next week.
Thank you. There are 2 items. May I have a motion? Smriti and Dave, and roll call.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Dr. McCune?
Yes.
Mr. Molinari?
Yes.
Mr. Amin?
Yes.
Ms. Mohan?
Yes.
Ms. Corrado?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Talbot?
Yes.
And Mr. Omalanik?
Yes.
That brings us to curriculum, and there is a report.
Yes, there is. Okay, so the curriculum committee met on September 12th, and we started off talking about a textbook approval for the sports and marketing book. Mr. Graber discussed the proposed text. The course that's currently approved and it's running, there's approximately 70 students in the course, split between 3 classes. It's currently being handled through online teacher access to the text that we're talking about right now. The administration would like an expedited review in order for the students to have the text prior to the end of the marking period. Since this textbook would go up for board approval faster than a normal review, Mr. Markarian sent out notice of that in the 912 SOS Express. We'll be voting on that, I believe, next meeting, the 17th, I think. And the cost for a text is $5,950. We talked about summer curriculum updates. There's a lot of stuff linked in the minutes, so go peruse it if you would like to take a look. But we'll start off with Cheryl Howarth reviewed Health 10. Marking period 3 is a full marking period of health. The staff is happy with the new structure. Ms. Howarth discussed teen mental health first aid. The idea is empowering students to recognize mental health warning signs in their peers and getting troubled kids to the right resources, not performing mental health care in school. May reevaluate the program. Currently, teachers are trained to read word for word from a script, and the district's evaluating how to make that more relatable to students. The National Center for Wellbeing is the vendor supplying the curriculum. Music program updates. Some staff departures in the elementary music program have gone from 2 band and 2 string directors to 2 band and 1 string director. The new string teacher coming on board to replace a departure. There was discussion regarding the concert structure at the elementary schools. In the past, when there was low enrollment in string, multiple school strings combined for their concerts. Then Ms. Fox discussed the AI plan that's been worked on over 5 days in the summer. Slide deck outlining the plan is linked in the minutes. November 12th will be a district-wide in-service on AI literacy. Currently, the 6th grade is the earliest students will be permitted to interact with generative AI chatbots. The free version of Gemini and Google LM are the Google tools within the district's workspace. Other student use of generative AI is situational and by permission only. Our AI plan is definitely a living document, and we'll see how this develops. There was discussion around dual enrollment and AI guidelines. There was also discussion around how fast the tech is evolving and whether to try to keep up with every development. The idea being that by the time some things are incorporated into instruction, they're already obsolete. K through 5 tech scope and sequence was discussed. Ms. Fox spoke to this. What skills do our younger students need, and how is it changing? The Information Literacy Guidelines Project is developing guidelines and through lines around research and information literacy. Let's see, the Liberty Corner Data Analysis Project. Data was looked at regarding NJSLA scores at Liberty Corner last year. There was significant improvement over the prior year. Dr. Oliver, the Liberty Corner principal, is going to continue the project to see if those improved scores are a trend. The WAMS Health Project. The curriculum was remapped to new textbooks the board approved last spring. Parental notifications on the health curriculum have been going out as planned. There were updates to the half the story portion of the curriculum, which deals with social media and digital wellness. Viking Voices was updated, which is part of the WAMS Good Citizenship program. And the Ridge Summer Reading Project. Mr. Hunter spoke to this. Summer work was to ensure things were ready to go day 1 of school to implement content regarding the summer readings. Let's see. So there's various summer curriculum updates that are linked in the minutes. Mathematics, social studies, English language arts, science, tech ed, world languages. It's all there for public review. And discussion on the curriculum updates will continue at the next meeting. There was also K-2 G&T discussion, gifted and talented. Mr. Terry spoke to the gifted and talented program. Currently, the district is meeting all the state requirements. The district is utilizing best practices regarding identifying students for the program. The consensus was the district is doing a good job in this area and to keep parents involved and informed on the process. Dual enrollment updates. Now we have dual enrollment opportunities in the ELA department for students to earn both high school and college credit. There's a letter addressing this that's linked in the minutes. So far, enrollment in the program is very low versus a lot of time and effort put in to develop the program. The district's going to be evaluating the sustainability of the program, taking into consideration student enrollment. Tutor.com communications, there's also an updated letter linked in the minutes, and the annual state assessment notification. Again, a letter linked in the minutes. A lot of stuff linked in the minutes this week. And our next meeting will be Friday, October 3rd.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, we're up to wellness. Is there a report?
We met on Wednesday, so I will report out in October.
Okay. That brings us to facilities and ops.
Yes, I have a report from our last meeting in August. So the committee reviewed the work orders, nothing of significant to note there. The main thing we are focusing on is making sure work orders are being closed as much as they're being opened, and we think we're at a good state right now. We talked about the lead remediation grant submission. It was supposed to be submitted by us end of August. We will confirm that and report status at the next ops meeting. The next two agenda items, the town rec fields, War Memorial, Astor Field, and Pleasant Valley. We tabled that until the next meeting, and the emergency equipment donation, just because I think we weren't ready to talk about that. We did talk about the donation to support Ridge Courtyard accessibility, and we accepted that in support of the project. We received a transportation update. There was no major issues reported from any ESY provider for ESY. We purchased a new bus that I think was otherwise being leased last year, and we agreed to look at all busing performance at our next meeting. We talked about the varsity field project with Boswell Engineering that we already talked about during public comments and afterwards here. We reviewed the findings of the local government energy audit and briefly discussed ESIP, which is a mechanism for financing energy upgrades. We're going to look at it more at future meetings, and went through the otherwise routine ongoing construction projects. The next meeting will be October 8th, next week.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions? Okay, we're up to liaison. Does anybody have a liaison report? Okay, that brings us to public comment on non-agenda items. If anybody has anything, please come on down.
I just have a question regarding, I think it's great that you guys gave feedback to the group about the lighting situation at the field. Terrific. I made a comment about the lighting situation at Mount Prospect School and about, I don't know if it exists elsewhere, but I didn't get any feedback. Can I get some?
At the end of public comment, we do the public comment, and then Mr. Marcano will respond.
Okay.
Good evening, I'm Nancy Leckladder. You heard from my husband earlier. I live at 79 Peachtree Road. I just jotted a couple of notes when everyone was speaking, so I just wanted to first say thank you for hearing our concerns. Thank you for expressing support for adopting policies, and thank you for some skepticism over those lights. According to Sharp Schools, the Ridge enrollment is expected to decrease and then stabilize over several years, so stopping and looking at how the fields are used and whether those lights are necessary is a really important step. Additionally, I think that putting footings in would be a huge mistake. It's a cost that we don't need to spend right now if we are not doing those lights. I would argue you don't need the conduits because lights don't belong that close to a residential neighborhood. One pole would be the equivalent of the pitcher's mound to a baseball, to the home plate from my home. That shouldn't be. In terms of capital is still money. And there are other projects that capital could be spent towards. You could, I don't know about that. I know that you could use that capital to repair the blacktop path at the bottom of Peachtree Road going up to the Varsity Complex. You could use that to repair the blacktop going from the Varsity Complex down to the baseball field. There are big divots at the top of it. You could also use that capital to replace the substandard lights at Lee Field and use the lights that you're saying are so good for the field behind us. Fix the lights at Lee Field and make it so that it is less light spillage into the neighborhood from the front of us, and don't light the back of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jennifer Muller, 87 Peachtree Road. I echo what my neighbors said. I didn't think I had anything to add, but I did want to ask, please, where I live, I'm on the cul-de-sac backing up to Cedar Hill. So we're the first line of every bit of light and noise that comes from Lee Field. And we knew that when we bought the house from my in-laws, who built it in 1971 and sold it to us right when the lights went on. But the use has just gone, you know, exponentially more than it ever was. We understand that lights are there, they're going to be used. It's the volume of the PA system that I have my biggest issue with. The lights bothered me when my kids were little and they couldn't go to sleep. That's not an issue anymore. The volume, it's not capped. And we had a meeting about 20 years ago with Mr. Shello and the principal at that time down in our cul-de-sac with a couple neighbors, listening to the PA, capping the volume to give us an idea of what was a reasonable, you know, decibel level versus the highest possible, which on a spring night last year, or this past year, it was like Woodstock was going on in my backyard. It was so loud, people were screaming into the PA system past 10 o'clock. You know, nobody enforced anything. I understand we're talking about policy, I appreciate that. I hope very much you'll get very specific about how the volume will be managed, who we can go to if there's a problem, because right now the only recourse we have is to call the police. I don't want to be that person. So a specific policy, coaching your coaches and all the parents who use that. My husband was one of the original RYSI guys. He was the chairman for 15 years. So we're pro-youth activity. I coached the cheerleaders for too many years. The RYSI uses Lee Field at night on Saturday nights. I don't believe they use any other fields other than Mountain Park at night. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe it's changed. But if there's turf on the soccer field and some of the use can be spread out, it also adds to the argument that you probably don't need lights on that field. So, you know, getting really specific about the study and the policy that you will come up with and giving us neighbors a way to contact somebody, voice a concern if the volume's super loud one night, would be very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Susan McGowan, 62 Peachtree Road. I also want to echo that I appreciate you hearing our concerns and supporting the idea of looking into the policy on the usage. And it's also very important that people who use the field and supervise those users even know there are policies around this, because I think that's been an issue that people don't even know these things ever existed. I also wanted to just clarify a concern when I brought up about the water drainage coming toward the neighborhood. I think you got a really sound engineering plan, and I do support those fields get drained so we can use your assets. However, studying the plans on the last 2 weeks and not sleeping, it looks like most of the water from all the fields is going into this nice retention basin and being released out to Maple Avenue. However, Lee Field drainage and anything that's just running down the ridge there behind the soccer field is going to be piped, and I understand there's things being put in to slow the flow down, and then it's coming underground and it's just being dumped in a big 18 by 22 feet, I forget what they call it, hole filled with big boulders, which then will overflow, and it's right at the edge of these neighborhood yards. And then I guess it'll eventually run on down and go to the dog park, which I'm surprised the town's okay with that. So that's the drainage issue we're talking about in our neighborhood yards. So I just would ask board members understand that, understand why it's just going in a big hole filled with rocks to bubble over into yards. And if it's, I mean, it's being completely directed there with this plan. And you know, it's going to wash over. How long is it going to take to dump? Is it going to be a mosquito? Is it going to make it swampier? Is it going to be a mosquito issue now? So that's the drainage issue that I was bringing up about the water coming toward the property lines. Thanks.
Thank you.
Scott Gibbard again. Sitting back there, listening to everything I've listened to, and this board's deliberations and your discussion and your reasoning, I can't thank you enough. I'm sincere. I've never appeared before this board to speak to you, and I'm really impressed with the seriousness with which you're taking our comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Richard Huckins, 67 Woodstone. In all your deliberations, which I appreciate those deliberations, as it does show empathy and understanding that these things can have an impact in the neighborhood. What I didn't hear was any comments about the drainage from that field. Now, I actually misread the plans. I thought the drainage was going the other direction past the ball fields, but now I'm seeing, I didn't look at it right, that it's all draining towards my property. And there is a swale. It's about 2 to 3 feet deep on the side towards the dog park there. And it's about 6 feet wide. So if we're talking about the drainage from all of those fields going into a swale that small, it isn't going in that swale. It will be flooding over the dog park, be flooding over my property, and I clearly am going to have swampy conditions forevermore on the back of my property. And so I strongly object to a plan that is just dumping all the water on me, literally. And no other neighbor is going to be as affected as I am based on where that collection basin is being installed. So there needs to be a total rethink and review of that water plan and the direction in which it's being discharged according to the plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming forward. Anyone else? Okay, I'll close public comment, and then Mr. Markarian, you can address me.
Sure. I don't think I have anything else to add with respect to the field, except for the last comment about the drainage, clarifying the concern that people have with regard to the location of the water coming down. I think it's called a scour hole in that location, so we can make sure we talk to Mr. Morris about that, Jim. And then the question about the exterior lighting at Mount Prospect, I apologize because you may have reached out to me about this issue. I honestly don't remember getting communications about lighting at Mount Prospect. So if that happened and I didn't get back to you, I apologize. So I will find out what's going on with the exterior lighting at Mount Prospect, and we'll take a look at what's going on in general with the timing of our exterior lighting. Sometimes we have issues with seasonal changes and when it gets dark and when it gets light in the seasons and getting our timers caught up to that. But I will follow up on that and find out what's going on. Thank you.
We're up to board forum. Does anybody have anything for board forum? Dave?
So I'll just do one because I've heard a lot of comments about it this week, and just for the policy committee, if they could just discuss the calendar. I know it's come up a lot, so I don't think maybe we won't go through our opinions now, but talking about holidays, maybe start dates, spring break, timing of that. I know this comes up almost every year of people wanting to change things on that, but think it's worth discussing again, because I know there's been a lot of people in the community talking about it.
Is it the holidays?
The holidays was the main one that they've been talking.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I had some questions this week. I think people, that are newer to the district don't know the history of how the policy, our calendar got the way it was. And like having lived through the infamous calendar survey that we did years ago, there's pros and cons to every change you can make to a calendar. And a lot of people aren't aware of all the different factors. Like when we tried to stop the school year earlier because it was going so late in June, because too many days off, that it was messing up students trying to get to college orientations and people trying to work at camps and teachers with other jobs. So like, I think it'd be good to review it in policy, and then we can explain it to everybody, and then we can discuss, you know what I mean?
I mean, I think you can ask 20 people their feelings on the calendar, and you'll get 20 different responses, because it's all based on individual, how it's affected, like, what holidays they celebrate, what seasons their kids play sports, when they go to camp in the summer, when they travel in August. I mean, I think it's fine to bring it back to policy, but I think you're going to run into the exact same thing, which is there's a whole lot that goes into figuring out how to construct those 180 days. And there is not one plan that will please every single person. Anybody else? Mike?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that's something we're definitely going to look at, but I can tell you a lot of districts have been giving off a lot more religious holidays, and there's a big debate about that. I can tell you where I teach, we get out, I think it's this year, off the top of my head, I think it's June 28th or June 29th. It's really late. And that's because we have off so many more holidays. And I don't know, that's something, we would really have to talk about. Do we want to, add a lot more time at the end of June and have, more of the individual holidays off? And you're right, that's going to be a problem because there's so many different holidays. We can't keep every single person happy with that. I think you're going to have, as you said, 20 different answers. I don't know, I think it's something we could talk about, but it's not just an easy, okay, give off this holiday, because we do it for one, we have to do it for all.
Yeah, just to echo that comment a little bit, I would be against extending the school year out further in June, which is one of the options you would have to explore, or the other one is starting before Labor Day, which I think that has an academic impact because people will still be traveling, classes will be light, and teachers will be hesitant to cover substantive material. And when it starts impacting the academics of our schools, I think we should be really, really cautious and not be quick to have dates on calendar just for the sake of having it when we know attendance will be light. So if anything is going to require extending the school year or starting it earlier, spring breaks are important, right, for kids to really have that time which people have come to expect. So something would have to give, and unless there's a proposal on what to extend or what to take away, I would be cautious on adding any more holidays.
I can give you just a little background. A number of years ago, we litigated a case that we prevailed in for West Morris Regional, and that allows you to start the school year before September 1. And now in Morris County, almost every school, especially if there's high schools, start before Labor Day. Most of them have the teachers come in for the orientations, etc. Sometimes they have, if the Labor Day is like September 6th or 7th, sometimes they'll have the kids come in even before Labor Day. But the reason that was done and the reason that was litigated in West Morris is exactly what you're talking about, trying to fit in all the different holidays, the religious holidays, and having a graduation that's, no later than like June 20th. It's difficult to do. There's only so many ways you can slice up a calendar. So I can give you the language that and I just negotiated, Randolph just did it too, where the earliest the teachers will come in, I think, is August 24th. They've done it that way because when you have a high school, all the high school kids are back mid-August playing sports, doing marching band, et cetera. So that's why a lot of the high schools have gone that route.
Robin, you had wanted to say something?
Oh, I was just going to say, in terms of discussions at policy, I mean, a review of our policies on excused absences, because, you know, religious holidays are an excused absence, and you do have time to make up your work if you have an excused absence. So making sure that families and all the staff are, you know, cognizant of what our policies already say for that situation.
Great. Anyone else? Okay, with that, can I get a motion to adjourn? Brett and Janice.